My name is Dr. Edt811 This is another lesson for Edt811, and this lesson will be lesson 5. So you see, we have started so far from lesson 1, 2, 3 to 5. Today, for this lesson, we're going to learn by giving ourselves definition of classroom communication. We're going to learn the various type of classroom communication. We're going to discuss on the prerequisite for effective classroom communication and the condition for good classroom communication. Then we analyze those social media and the barriers that affect effective classroom communication. I hope you will enjoy it. Let's go to class and enjoy ourselves. You're welcome.
Now, you are welcome back to the class. Once again, my name is Dr. Edt811 Badmos, and the course title for Edt811 is Theories of Communication and Philosophical Basis of Instructional Materials or Instructional Media. So, what are we going to learn in this lesson? We are going to define classroom communication. We are going to differentiate between the two types of classroom communication, and we are going to identify some prerequisites for effective classroom communication. Then we're going to look into the conditions for good communication in the classroom, and we are going to mention some of these instructional media for classroom communication. Then we analyze the various barriers to effective classroom communication. Now, let's take it one after the other and start the lesson per se. Now, what do we understand by communication in the classroom? So, it's the same thing like where we define communication, but the situation where we have in the classroom is quite different from where we communicate in the other places. Communication in the classroom is between teachers and the learner, where the teacher will master the message that is going to send or disseminate to the learner in an effective way, in a way that is very clear to the learner. That is classroom communication. And this classroom communication can be divided into two. We have two types of classroom communication. The first one is verbal communication, where the second one is non-verbal communication. The verbal communication, these are the communication that teacher uses to express himself through talking, by speaking to the student, by writing on the board, by all the form of talking, by asking the student some question. These are verbal communication, and verbal communication can be oral and can be written forms. So this is verbal communication. The next one is non-verbal communication. This non-verbal communication is when the teacher uses body language, when the teacher uses face expression, and when the teacher uses any form that can give signal to student without being talk. So these are the non-verbal communication. Teacher can use his hand to wave, can smile, can clap and other things, and the use of gesture as well, referred to as non-verbal communication. Not all the times that teachers will talk in the classroom. He can tap a particular student that is doing another thing. He can nod his head, can shake his head. He can also use his hand to control classroom. So these are non-verbal communication. What are the prerequisites for effective classroom in effective communication in a classroom? We have so many I think we can talk about. Like, as a teacher should choose a code that is known by everyone to whom message is to be sent. You don't send a message that will be difficult for the receiver to comprehend. You should know a particular code that is very quickly for learner to grab. Another one is a teacher should avoid using a code that is ambiguous or that might be misunderstood by the receiver. As a teacher in the classroom, don't use a word that be confusing, or a student will find it difficult to understand. Then we should also avoid choosing a medium, those are the materials that any of your receiver, that the student find might be unpleasant to him or her. So you should not go to the classroom, or you should not use a medium for information to be disseminated to the learner through the medium or through the media can affect the students condition or can jeopardize effective classroom. Now as well, we should choose medium that is well suited to the condition in order which the message is to be sent. We should use an appropriate medium that will go in line with the message that we are teaching in the classroom, so that there won't be any confusion with our receiver, that is our student. The next one is take whatever steps you can to reduce noise and its effect. There is no way that you not see noise in the classroom from the teacher or from the student or from the school environment, but we should do whatever it takes us to reduce the noise and its effect, so that we can have effective classroom communication. Now let's do these class activities before we move on. Explain the place of communication in the teaching and learning process. Thank you. Let's continue. So what are the conditions for good communication in the classroom? We have 5 important conditions to achieve good classroom communication. There are 5, and we'll be talking about this, but how important we make use of them, how cognizant we use them, and all take necessary step to utilize them very well. Now the first one is the message. This is the message, this is the information that the teacher is sending or transfer to the student, and this is very important in a way that teacher should take cognizance of. One, the teacher should have a good mastery of the content, because the content is the message, and it will bring about the confidence in the teacher. The next one is the receiver. The receiver, which is the student in the classroom. As a student, we should not use, for our receiver, we should not use a code, which we have mentioned before this one. We should not use a code or use the language that will be ambiguous to the student, that they will find it difficult to understand. The next one is that the code that we're going to use for our information, to disseminate our information or our message, like verbal or non-verbal, should be relevant, and students should be able to grab whatever the information that you want to pass to them effectively. The next one is the medium. This medium, there are so many, the media that we may use. If we are going to use the audio, we're going to use the visual, we're going to use the picture, but we should ensure that what media are available in your school. So far we know that this media is available. We should have familiar ourselves with those media, so that we may use them effectively and appropriate in line with our content of our lesson, and which will be most appropriate for the message you want to send under the noise condition you expect. If at all we already so far our school is located in an environment that we cannot afford to have noise or external noise, we should prepare ourselves with kind of media or the medium that can use to prevent this kind of noise. Then also noise as well, which is inevitable, we should at least find it more interest that these are noise, we try to avoid it or reduce them in order to have good communication in the classroom. Now let's talk about some of the media that are relevant to teaching and learning that can make a good classroom communication. The first one, we have audio media. These are the media that are appeal to the sense of hearing, like radio, like the audio tape, like the also CD, like the audio cassette. There are so many, depending on the type of information, depending on the level of information and the student background that we want to deal with. So audio media is very, very important. Then another one is visual media. These are the media that are appealing to sense of seeing, like photograph, like chart, diagram, graph, like map, like group, there are almanac. There are so many. It depending on the type of message that we want to use them for, and depending on the type of student that we want to use them for. Like this one now, you cannot use visual media for blind person, but the deaf ones can use their eyes to see it. So the next one is audio visual media. These are the media that are appealing to sense of hearing and sense of seeing, like television, like computer, like video, like cinematography. There are so many. These are very rich materials or media that can use to help us for effective good classroom communication. The next one is mass media. Mass media, we've said it, mass media widely spread. Mass media widely spread. So these are the materials. It can be in print, it can both in print or electronic media that can reach a larger audience, larger number of students with no matter how the distance they have. Like we have newspaper, we have the radio, we have television, we have internet, like open and distance learning. So mass media is very, very important. So the next one is multimedia. The multimedia, they are form of computer that combine all other devices together to make our teaching and learning more reachable. So these are very, very important, and when we make use of them, we have a good classroom communication. Now let's talk about the barriers to effective classroom communication. The first one is physical discomfort. The physical discomfort is when we have overcrowded. There are so many ways at which this can bring to noise or can serve as barrier to effective classroom. So when we have overcrowded in the classroom, we definitely bring some discomfort to the learners, and at times children can have health problem. And in some cases, we may have classroom furniture, poor classroom furniture and poor illumination in the classroom. These are referred to as physical discomfort. There is no way they will exist in the classroom that will not have problem for classroom communication. The next one is verbalism. The verbalism referred to as communication mode, in which the teacher devotes much of its time to talk throughout. So these are the things that are not good enough. So teachers will use other form of code or form of sending information to the student, like non-verbal communication as well. If a teacher makes use of talking throughout, it may cause problem and is a barrier. The next one is daydreaming. The daydreaming could refer to a situation where a child is physically present in the classroom, but his mind is not in the classroom. Is several kilometers away from the classroom. So these are the things as a good teacher, we should take cognizance of it in the classroom to be aware of what is going on with our students, so that we may have good effective classroom communication. Most of the time, teacher will ask question and student will be asking, what is the question, sir? So we should know that the mind of the student is not in the classroom. The next one is limited perception. Limited perception referred to as a learner insufficient knowledge about a particular concept. So when we are talking in the class, or when we are explaining to students, and the perception, the way students see that thing is not sufficient for them, maybe through the hear or see, for them to grasp or comprehend what the teacher is saying. That is what we refer to as limited perception. Maybe they have not seen it before, maybe they have not taught it before, maybe they have not talked about, they don't have the experience, and their perception to it is not sufficient, and it will definitely avoid the group classroom communication, and it's a barrier. The last one is referent confusion. The referent confusion is when there is no connection between the previous lesson and today's lesson. That is why most of the times we normally emphasize that a good teacher should preview the previous lesson, so that there will be connection between the last lesson and today's lesson, and it will give room for students to have ample opportunity to acquire or comprehend today's lesson. Let's have these class activities. List 5 categories of instructional media in the classroom. Thank you and God bless you. Let's meet in the class. You're welcome.